Welcome back to the Kaiju Lounge with your boss monster Noah Waterman, your home for humor, opinions, and nerd shit. A lot of stuff had been in the news, of course, as I've mentioned. We talked about Starfield news. We talked about the Mario trailer. We talked about things happening with Activision, with Volition. Of course, I don't think anything was more like hotly contested. Anything started getting the ire of the gaming community, especially the elder statesman gamers like myself, than some comments made by the Sonic team over at Sega. Let's get into this a little bit for a little context here. Later this year, a fresh take on Sonic the Hedgehog will be taken in the form of Sonic Superstars. Closer in spirit to the original 16-bit games or Sonic Mania than the recent Sonic Frontiers, early previews and impressions of the new game have been fairly positive. The past week, discussion about the game came to the forefront as lead producer Takashi Iizuka spoke to Games Radar about the series moving between 2D and 3D, saying the Sonic franchise always needs a modern 3D game and a classic 2D entry. However, what really got people going was the mention that the evolution of Sonic games means a move away from the original's pixel art style. As he stated, we look at the pixel art, it's great, but when we think about 10 to 20 years in the future, we don't think it's going to be a viable art style or presentation for our players. And in order to advance and really step things up, we did want to make sure that we were presenting something that 10 to 20 years down the road, we're still evolving and creating new content for. Now, is it going to be a rant? Is this going to be a rave? Honestly, it's somewhere in between. Let's get into it. Look, saying Sonic has a brand identity is a bit of a misnomer. One game he's running through a colorful cartoony world, the next he's outrunning tanks in San Francisco. He's been a werewolf, a knight, fought a cartoonishly shaped human, then fell in love with a realistic human. He's acted as a caretaker for adorable chibi creatures and fought a giant eldritch space monster. And that's honestly in the same fucking game. At this point, the only things I expect out of a Sonic is to be fast, have at least one banger of a theme song, and be a gateway drug for furry conventions. Even Sonic Frontiers felt about as jarring as Mario standing next to normal humans. Look, say what you will about Mario, but there's a consistency in style and character, and when they break it, there's usually a bigger reason behind it. That said, I don't think Iizuka is wrong here. Pixel art isn't fully viable for a series as big as Sonic, at least not in the long term. It wasn't for Mario, which made the jump to 3D and never really looked back outside of some select handheld games. If Mario didn't change with the times, I'm not sure it would have held up. And part of this is because the 2D Mario games, as fun as they are still greatly overshadowed by the 3D AAA entries. In order for Sonic to be continued to be viewed as a top-tier franchise and continue to bring on new fans in the younger generation, it has to evolve. The problem is, Sonic's evolution has been less the evolution of man and more breeders playing God with the puggle. It has trouble breathing, and some of these games probably shouldn't exist. Sonic 3D games have never felt right and at best are fine. Look at any top 10 Sonic list and maybe Unleashed and Adventure 2 are on it. Otherwise, they are dominated by the originals, the originals, the Game Boy Advance games, and Mania. As a matter of fact, Mania might be the highest rated Sonic game to come out in the last couple of years. That was essentially a Sega-sanctioned fan game. And I think that's where Iizuka's first comments come from. He says Sonic always needs a modern 3D game and a classic 2D game, and that is true. Sonic needs a 3D game to even be considered a AAA tier character and not go the way so many mascots have done before. But Sonic needs a 2D game because those are the only ones they get right. They stopped trying to give hedgehog guns or telekinetic powers or armor and a sword and just let it be cartoony mascot. Sonic's cool factor has dated nearly every entry because cool is subjective to the era it's in. Sonic 2D must exist so that they can spend that money trying to get Sonic 3D right. Now, they're getting close with the game like Frontiers, but it still seems like they got some work. Hey folks, forgive the change of outfit, the change of day here. If you're watching the live stream, you'll know that at some point during it, the volume on my mic cut out during the segment, so I obviously couldn't do anything about it during the live stream, but I was able to re-record it now here, and that is where we are. So, as I was saying, now to think that pixel art isn't a viable option in general is a huge mistake. That's not what I think Iizuka said, but it's how a lot of people are taking it. See, pixel art is oddly versatile and timeless. Look at some great games like Eastward, Blasphemous, and TMNT Shredder's Revenge. These have all been able to employ pixel art without feeling lost in time. I mean, it's pretty safe to say pixel art is a style just like hand-drawn animation and no longer a technological crutch. No one is going to say traditional animation doesn't work because Pixar exists. Hell, plenty of children's TV is 2D animation. Bluey, Peppa Pig, Love Monster, which is what I call my penis and should absolutely not be a children's show. Same applies for pixel art. My son might think in the future that Final Fantasy VI is ugly by today's standards, but it's not the same as Octopath Traveler. Pixel art as an art is here to stay and will continue to fuel the fire of literally every indie game developer willing to put the patience in. It's just not for Sonic, because it's really hard to make Rouge the Bat fuckable in pixel art. Guys, that is our segment here. If you want the live, uncut, raw version, one that you can interact with and help shape the narrative, talk with me as we're going through the show, then please check out the Kaiju Lounge live every Monday night right here on this YouTube channel. Hit that bell notification to make sure you don't miss when that happens. And until next time, thank you for watching. Stay cool, stay hip, stay heavy.